I'm always torn on the topic of the internet. And one of the reasons why Melody and I are bringing this whole series forward is because we're recruiting some of our closest friends and greatest minds, I think, in healthcare in general to contribute. And I think sometimes, like, we're generally healthy. We're clearly thinking in a way, but when you've got a chronic challenge, you're not healthy and you're not clearly thinking, but you need help. And there you go to the same internet and you just get overwhelmed with good information and bad information. So it can work both ways. I think part of it, just like everything in life, you find a trusted source, people that you resonate with. That's why I resonate with you guys, because, you're authentic, you're on point, you're empathetic with the situation, whatever it may be, and you're happy to share to help my life. And those are the things that I look for. And so for all of you out there listening, before you even start to look, maybe you should sort of think a little bit about the things that the qualities you want in the chat room or the blogger or the Instagram channel and so forth, that are components of things that resonate for you, so that when you get to that page, when you find that source, you go, oh, yep, this is the one. I'm hanging here. I can relate to this community. I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm trusting. And then
remember to change it up too, because we outgrow circles, and that's okay. We outgrow chat rooms. We outgrow people that we follow. I'm constantly doing a detox of my social media, of who I follow and who I don't, because you realize, like, oh, when I was pregnant, I was following this group of people, and that really was a good season to be in. But you need to change it up, because we're constantly changing and constantly growing. And if you're just stuck in these old patterns, it's very hard to grow. And it's okay. It's okay to let that go and to move on. And if you don't resonate with me in the season that I'm in, I definitely will have somebody that I can point you in the direction to. That's the beauty of community, is saying, you know what, right now you need this person. You need this pastor, or you need this priest, or you need this mom of 3 who really has no time, but she can connect with you at this point. Like, it's so beautiful to be able to have this community for different seasons that you're in, and not think, oh, I'm just going to stick with this person for the rest of my life.
And I think to touch on that, Robbie, as well. I mean, you guys have both said this, but we look at reviews when you're purchasing anything these days, because what it is to be sold. We often joke about the 1950s TV commercials. They're comical when you look at them now, right? They're cute, but they're comical.
Margarine.
Exactly. Like, oh my goodness, they thought we were absolutely...
You do that too well, Angie. You do that too well. Okay, so I'm not paying attention to you, but I want to focus on Arlynd right now. Go ahead.
You can keep it as a product after this, or just whatever it was, right? But my point is, when people are constantly sold something and treated like they're not intelligent, you start tuning out and not trusting very much at all when it comes to presenting you with something new. That's why a company like Amazon was one of the first, right, that really hammered reviews, because most people now, if they see something like, I'm going to quickly see what somebody's saying about it. I really want to see what the product is doing. Is it saying it? How many good? How many bad? The point is, we look to get a little bit of a, hey, did this work for you? Was this good? Was this bad?
Right.
That's what we need to do, and what we are doing with social media, of what information are you taking from somebody, and is it reliable? Is it trustworthy? Is it authentic? That's an important place to start. Your season can change. The people that you're connected to, like you said, can change. But having a source of, who do I go to? Having a source of, like Angie, pointing somebody to this person or this person, when you have already a base of trust, that's an important place to start. Because you said it earlier in this talk, you go to the internet, good, like, how do you know, right? How do you know what to trust?
Your ladder completely collapses. Your ladder, starts on fire.
Well,
it's a bonfire kindling.
Right. It's, you start with toothpicks and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So it is important to be able to start with a small circle of trusted sources that then can continue to give you specific direction in what you're looking for. That's the beauty of the good things about the social media world and the internet world. The other thing that I think is just really, really important for us to make sure we're continuing to encourage people that are taking the time to listen to this. You're here because there's a need, an interest, but more often than not, a need for continued knowledge on what do I do? How can I understand where I'm at? What is a path forward? I think what Angi said is probably one of the most important parts of any person's process, wherever they are, is having a community that hears you, that understands you, supports you, and then hopefully gives you some wisdom to move forward. But the first three of those categories, the first two probably more specifically, when you have Lyme, and I think most people that have been diagnosed with Lyme have some sense of what I'm going to say, it's kind of a write-off. Oh, you have Lyme. So what do I do? Well, we can do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. You kind of feel like you're just in an ocean of possibility, maybes, I don't really know, is really what it comes down to a lot of times when people first get that diagnosis of, here's where you're at. We don't really know if that's what most people are actually saying. They're probably saying, I don't really know what to do with you, so we're going to start trying a few things, and we'll see what happens. That's not comforting, and it's discouraging.
You're an experiment.
You're an experiment, and it's a journey that most people probably listening to this know. It's not a couple of weeks. You are constantly in this journey of, okay, I guess they said we're going to try this. Well, now this is a problem, so we're going to try this. My point is to try and package that nicely. Being heard and understood is one of the most important things somebody on that journey can have. Having connection, like Angi's been talking about, to be able to share and to feel like these people understand what it is to be in my shoes. Even if there's not answers, there's a shared community that says, I get you. I hear you, I feel you, and I know what it is to be in your shoes. Some people will be on the same path and saying, I'm so thankful I found you to share this journey, because if I was alone in this, I'd be a mess and I might want to just give up. Having somebody alongside you, maybe ahead of you, maybe behind you, all three of those can be so beneficial, because if you see somebody behind you and you've been through it, you don't want them to give up. You don't want them to just throw in the towel. If somebody's ahead of you, they can encourage you, and you say, they've gone through this and this is where they are. I'm going to keep doing these things to make sure I move forward. All three of those positions are a possibility with social media, and I think that's the beautiful thing. We have a close friend that we've done some work with that said he was a part of a group a number of years ago. That group ceased, and they still get together every Saturday just because. And their walks of life, what's going on in their lives, all of these things make no sense that they would actually be people that spent time together. But the thing that drew them together is the thing that continues to hold them together. That's the beautiful thing in the journey that's not fun for a lot of you to be going through with Lyme. The relationships and the purpose from that is something that is long lasting. Be encouraged that this journey can be something that produces positives. And I firmly believe that. We often don't grow unless there's a need for growth. And that is meaning a challenge that's placed in front of us that you have to figure out how to move through it. That's a beautiful thing with where most of you are, is trying to figure out, where do I go from here? How do I move through this? Once that growth happens, it's yours. Now you either share that, even if you didn't share it, but you're living a different existence. What are you doing with that existence now? Does that mean you're sharing your journey with Lyme? Or does it mean the thing that you're passionate about, you're able to continue to be passionate about and move through and share and live this life as it's meant to be lived?
Because that's yours. No one can take that away. The process is yours to keep.
Yeah.
And no one, without that, no one can take the process away from you. Someone can take a pill away from you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, what do I do without these pills? But if you go through the process, that process is yours, and you become stronger and stronger. and no one can take that away. And that's something that you can share and give more hope and more of a sense of control and more strength when you go through that process. And that's not negative. That's extremely positive.
And I see that as and hopefully I'm not insulting to people, listening to this, but Lyme has so many interesting challenges attached to it. But if you can look at it as a positive, you're taking the advanced course in how do I treat my system to live a full and beautiful life, because you're not going to address diabetes. You're not going to address this thing. I'm not going to address it.
A tangible, yeah.
You have so many things that you will continue to gain from and learn from that comes back to how do I work? How do I make sure I'm doing the things that give me full life? That's more across the board. And that probably means you're going to be around a lot longer than people who haven't had that challenge, because you'll have the opportunity to learn, to put into practice what you've learned and live a fruitful, healthy life. That to me is the beautiful thing about Lyme, as weird as that might sound. Again, I hope that's not insulting, but you have a great opportunity to learn and to move through that challenge and then to flourish on the other side of it and through it. And
to meet warriors, to meet people who have just been through hell and are surviving and are thriving. And you can become a warrior. You are a warrior if you're dealing with it.
Yes.
Just meeting exceptional people that you never would have met before if you weren't in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Two words come to mind listening to this latest part of our discussion. One, to your credit, Arlynd, when you talk about the buddy system, finding that person to help you through, it's having accountability to yourself and looking to your friend, partner, or community per se. It keeps you on track. Because left to yourself, then you're back on the bottom of the barrel again, looking up, saying, I can't figure my way out of here. But having the lifeline of finding someone and or community, sense of community platform like what you guys have created, gives you that lifeline and gives you that reference point to bounce off your ideas off of without sense of judgment. And that's so important, because oftentimes the family dynamic is the most destructive and toxic and not on purpose. They're all worried and nervous and have their own material, crazy stuff going on in their head. They only want to do is help you. They see you getting sicker by the moment, and they feel somewhat impotent in their own way of not being able to support and help you. And so they put that on you when that's the last thing that you need right now. You just need a life preserver, or just some kind of lifeline to help you pull out. So, it's a hard thing when you're the Lyme patient to be able to be strong enough to say, I need some space, Mom. I love you. Thank you for my grilled cheese and tomato soup, because it'll always be comfort food for me. But that's not what I need right now. And be able to do that. So for all of you out there looking for that, you're not crazy to think that you might, that loved one or someone that's so close to you may not be the right person for you in the moment. And maybe someone you don't know without a face, but has that sense of community and empathy and knowing what you're going through is the right person to be able to go to.
Forever. It's not forever. When I was going through my divorce, I didn't speak to my mom for 3 years. And at the time, that felt like an eternity, and it felt like the worst thing in the world. My father had died, and so I had the guilt of this single mom, and I wasn't talking to her. But I had to draw a boundary, because she was only able to deal with how she was brought up and her mentality around divorce, which was, non-negotiable. But I knew that I had to get through that. And after those 3 years, which I hate putting, a timeline on it, but whatever that boundary, that bubble that you place around yourself of healing, however long that is, there can be healing on the other side. Before my mom died, we were closer than we've ever been in our entire lives. So we mended that relationship. But she had to know my boundaries, and she had to know to respect that. And we had an incredible relationship, but it wouldn't have been there if we hadn't had that time apart. And it's very, very hard to do, but it's a huge part of the healing process, is to know what is serving you and what's not. And if you're in that toxic relationship, you can be doing all the processes and all the things, but there's still that thing, whether it's from the outside or whatever, that is extremely, extremely a huge part of your process, whether that's moving you forward or just constantly pulling you back.
Right. And by the way, that could be your general doctor that you were going to when you're symptomatic, and you read about Lyme and you think that's what you got, and the doctor isn't Lyme literate or doesn't have any experience with it, and they say, I did your blood tests, you're fine, you got to be crazy, go see a psychiatrist. You have to know that inner voice inside of you. That's the best doctor on the planet, by the way. And you have to have the strength to be able to say, you know what, you're not the right doctor for me. Yeah. I got to find someone who hears me, understands me, is willing to listen to me. And it's amazing. We've all traveled a lot, and maybe a little less now public traveling because of COVID and things like that. But I always just think about, well, you meet, you're traveling, let's say if your guys aren't together, or if I'm just traveling for business and I sit next to someone on an airplane and don't know that person, never knew that person before, won't know that person after. And yet here it is, I'm in a safe place. I could tell that person anything I want to say, right? Get all of that free information, right? Yeah. And then the plane lands, I go my way, they go their way, there's a lot of safety in that, right?
Yeah.
Wow. We've taken up so much of your time. You guys are beautiful, wonderful. I can't thank you enough for joining us. So we only have a few minutes left, and I'm just wondering if there's something out there that's lingering in your minds that you just want to get out before we have to call it a day.
Yes.
So,
yes. Honestly, we have another 5 hours. Are you good? Because we have that much to say.
Well, wait a minute. Let me go get some more change to put into the meter, and I'll be with you.
No, there's so much. That's why we have a website. That's why we have an Instagram account. That's why we do lives constantly. That's because there's so much information, and it's constantly changing.
We are
so much to say.
Hungry to be able to share tools that will make a positive change for people. That, again, going back to what we said, that's our heart and that's our passion. And we do have a lot of those tools and a lot of the information, but what we don't have, we love to connect with people who do have what we don't have and still share that. So it's not an ego-based, we have it all at all. But can we be, hopefully what I was saying, can we be something that provides people a place to come to at least go through a filter of, I trust these people already. Now I'll see what this has to say on what I'm dealing with here. That's what we want to be. The thing that I want to leave with a couple minutes, and then I'll pass it over to Angi, is building off of what I've said. If you're here and you're in this place, you're having a specific reason why you've been sitting listening to us, and you're living through something that you're either watching someone or experiencing yourself that you are trying to navigate. I just want to say it for the 10th time, be encouraged that the fact that you are where you are is moving forward. You can't listen to this kind of a conversation and be left empty without something to move forward in. And hopefully that's the beginning or a continuation of a process that you're on. But be encouraged, because you have this life and you have this day to live. There's a reason for that. I often say there's a why behind absolutely everything. As much as it's uncomfortable, there's a why behind you having the circumstances that you're now living through. But trust that there is a purpose in that process. If you can focus on your greater why do you want to be here? What is it that you want to be a part of? Find your why and let that be something that is a driving force of moving through these challenging and difficult things that are ahead of you still. When you find that, is that your kids? Is that your grandkids? Is that being a part of an organization that is so close to your heart that you want to be able to make a difference. You have today. We don't know if we have tomorrow, but live every day like this is your opportunity to make a change with the time that you've been given. That is what I hope you can take from anything else I've said. You're here for a reason. Live out your days with purpose. If you don't have a why, find one. And that will be such a driving force for you to continue to go through the challenging things ahead. And hopefully we can be a part of that journey that makes it less challenging and build community that's now something that is, again, less challenging, that you continue to move forward.
The Healthy Hotline is your go-to resource for leading-edge health technologies and is powered by Therasage. Therasage brings unique, healthy infrared healing energy to the public in easy-to-use and affordable, high-quality products. To learn more about Therasage, as well as get a discount on your next purchase for being a listener of the show, go to Therasage.com and enter Healthy Hotline at checkout. That's one word, Healthy Hotline, to get a special discount on your next Therasage purchase.